What's up, guys? So I'm in here rigging up some rods, some new reels, got some new Abus, and got my stick 5 rods. And today I just want to take a minute and I want to show y'all what I do whenever I get a brand new reel and a brand new rod, and kind of what I do whenever I set these up just straight out of the box and get ready to go fishing with them. So this is it. So starting off, this is a brand new Revo X. Take this dude out of the box. It's a really sweet reel, by the way. I've used Abu for a long time. Always used the Revo, been a big fan of the Revos. And this is new to their lineup. This thing is absolutely awesome. I'm excited to put this thing to use, put this thing to work this year. So let's get started on this thing. So we got our reel. Got my rod here. This is the Chatter Chicken rod by Stick 5. And of course, the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna put this thing on. You wanna make sure you get this thing good and tight. You don't want it coming loose. Don't break it, but just make sure you get that thing on there good and tight. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna get some real cheap line. Doesn't matter, this is Sunline. I mean, you can see this right here, $7.99. Real inexpensive line. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be fluorocarbon, it can be mono. I wouldn't use braid, but just anything cheap. This is 10 pound. You know, you don't want anything real big. You don't want anything like a 20 or 25. Just keep it in that 10, 12, 14 pound range. That'll be fine. But what we're gonna do with this is just gonna be a backer. This is gonna be a backer that we're gonna put on our reel. And that way, when we go to change line in the future, we don't have to pull it all off to, you know, get down into the spool or whatever. It actually helps you save some line. And in the long run, you know, whenever you're changing line pretty often, if you got this backer on here, you can leave this on here forever. And you're not gonna have to worry about it. It never gets used, but it's just down in there. And this will help you save some money in the long run. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put this on, and I'll show you about how far I spool it up and everything before I start putting my main line on. And one thing that I like to do is I like to take it, and I just like to go through this first guide. This is the first guide on the rod. And I just go through that one guide right there, just to kind of help it stay in line and everything. And then of course you're gonna go down through where the worm gear is, the one that goes back and forth. And then I like, if it's got holes in it, I like to try and go through the holes and then tie it on. But if it doesn't have holes, you want to definitely go around the spool and make sure that thing is as tight as you can possibly get it wherever you tie that knot down in. All right, so we got our line around. I know you probably can't see it, it's really small, but I got it around the spool. And all I'm gonna do is just, I've got it around there. I'm gonna take it down to the main line, and I'm just gonna do like the old school knot that we all used to always tie whenever you were tying on a lure. So you're just gonna wrap that thing around there about 5 or 6 times. You don't have to do anything crazy. And then go back down through this loop down on the bottom, just like this. And then of course come back through that loop that you have got made right there. Just like that. And make a little slip knot and slide it down on there. And you want to get this thing good and tight. Just kind of pull on it. You want it snug down on that spool of that reel. You want that thing good and tight. Grab your tag in. Grab some scissors. You want to cut it right down there as close as you can. Try not to scratch that spool, but cut it as close as you possibly can. Sometimes if you go to reel, you know, the drag is really, really loose. Just tighten that drag up. All right, So we got everything tied on there. I'm just gonna reel it up, and I've got my spool down here in the bottom. I'm just gonna reel it up until it gets a little snug, and then I'm gonna grab my spool. You always want this line coming off the top. On a bait caster, you always want it, your line where it's coming off the spool, you want it coming and feeding off of the top of that spool. You don't want it feeding out from down here under the bottom. You want it feeding off the top. And you're just gonna start winding it up. I'm just gonna put enough line on here just about to where that spool pretty well disappears, like where you can't see it anymore. So I want to leave a good bit, you know, left up here for my main line, but you know, I want to reel that thing up so that pretty much where you just about can't see that spool anymore through the line. And you know, depending on how much you want to put on there, if you're going to be flipping with this rod, we'll go ahead and put more, because you're not going to need as much line whenever you're flipping. If you're going to be casting, you know, of course you're going to need more line. So don't put that backer, don't put as much backer on there whenever you're doing it like that. So there's that. All right, take our scissors. Just gonna snip it off. Leave that line hanging through that first guide. Now we got our main line. This 18-pound FC Sniper Sunline. Open this dude up. All right. Oh no, it fell off. All right, so we've got our backer right here, and then we've got our main line right here, and it's the spool's down here in the floor. So all you're gonna do, this is super easy. There's nothing important about this. Put these two lines together, just like that. Take them and just do a simple overhand knot, just like this. Pull it down tight. Nothing crazy, only takes a couple seconds. Snip it off. That's it. All you want to do is just pull it down in that spool. All right. So I position this reel between my legs and kind of like up under me. And then I hold my rod just like this in my legs. And then you just want to start reeling until this line gets tight from down in the bottom, from your spool down here in the bottom. Just like that. Now then we're gonna grab our spool. All right, so we got our spool up here. Same thing, you want that line coming off the top, not off the bottom. Make sure it's coming off the top. You want it going in this first eye, just like this. Coming right down in here. All right, and then we're just gonna start reeling. And you can kind of judge your tension by how tight you're holding this spool up here. You know, you don't want to hold it super tight, but you don't want to hold it super loose either. And then we're just going to spool this thing all the way, almost to the top. You want to get a good full spool. You want it to be full. And I leave about 1/16 of an inch or so. You see where you can see the red and then the black? I like to leave about 1/16 of an inch right there, just almost full, but you don't want to overfill it. So that's it right there, just about perfect. So now all we gotta do, cut this and run it through our guides. Here's a nice little tip for you. The first time that you run this through those guides up there, this thing's gonna be super loose. So what I like to do is on my tension bar right here, this tension bar, I tighten it up. Like I tighten it up a lot. Because what'll happen is if you have it super loose and then you mash that button, you get a backlash. And you don't want a backlash on your very first one. Like you got a fresh spool of line, you don't want a backlash. This is a brand new reel. You don't know what it's set at. So tighten it up nice and tight where it's not gonna slide off of there. And of course, we've already got it through our first guide. And now we're just gonna run it up through the rod. All right, so for this specific rod right here, I'm gonna back down on that tension just a little bit. I've got it ran all the way up, you know, through all the guides and everything. This setup is almost ready to go. But I don't know exactly what I want tied on it yet. I haven't seen the lake. I don't know if it's muddy, if it's clear. I mean, I don't know exactly what the conditions are of the lake wherever I, you know, right now that I'm gonna be going to. So what I like to do is, instead of tying a bait on there, I simply just take my tag in. I got my tag in right here. And all I'm going to do is just tie a little loop in it. And take it like that. Make a loop. Do an overhand knot. Just like that. Now then I've got a loop. These stick 5 rods have got a nice little keeper on them. Just like that. And take it. Hook it on there. Engage the reel. And then I always like to put my reel handles, I'm weird like that. I gotta put my reel handles flat like that. And then take it, wrap it around. There you go. That's a brand new rod and reel. Ready to go, ready to rigged. And we're ready to go catch one on it. Whenever you get to the lake, tie whatever you want on it. Ready to roll. Thanks guys, I appreciate y'all watching. We'll catch y'all later.